W lesie dziś nie zaśnie nikt. First ever Polish slasher film and one of the first victims of theaters being closed due to the coronavirus outbreak. It was supposed to be released theatrically last week on Friday the 13th, but has now been released on Netflix instead, at least for Polish viewers, not sure about other countries. So I was interested in it for two reasons. One, it is true that it's the first Polish movie of this kind, so why not check out how well it's done. Two, it stars Gabriela Moskała, who I've seen just 2 years ago in A Fugue, and she was excellent in it. And I'm afraid to say that this film has been a disappointment of elephantine proportions, and I feel robbed of 2 hours required to watch it. The story is extremely simple. There's an offline camp taking place in the woods where teenagers are shipped off, stripped of all electronic devices, and forced to spend a few days detoxing from the internet. They're separated into groups of 5 plus an instructor and go off to camp in the forest. Muskawa plays the instructor of one of the groups, consisting of the most stereotypical set of characters you can possibly imagine. There's a fat nerd whose whole character is that he's fat and he's a nerd. There's a gay character whose whole character is that he's gay. There's a pretty girl that likes sex, a stoner guy, and finally an outsider girl that's very clearly positioned to be the main protagonist that we're supposed to sympathize with. And as they go off into the woods, very soon it turns out that something or someone is there with them, and trouble starts. And by trouble, I mean brutal killing. So the problems are numerous, but the two main ones are at the very fundamentals of the film, the screenplay and the direction. I'll start with the former. As I was describing the character, you could probably see where I was going with it. Every single one of them is paper thin, shallow as a teaspoon, and lacking any qualities save for the defining one per each of them. Worst of all is that each of those characters has a skeletal backstory that could be turned into something interesting, maybe not even for all of them, but at least for some, but not one of them ultimately has any bearing on the plot. You could literally swap the backstories around or remove them completely from the film and it would still be the same thing. The characters are nothing more than pawns on the board. Characterization is not the only problem of the script. The dialogue and the story itself are both egregiously stupid. I mean, there were points during the film when I was just embarrassed to be watching it. I don't know how you can write such a dumpster fire of a script and not be ashamed to look at yourself in the mirror. Then we're slowly getting into the issues of direction. The film lacks any tension whatsoever. There is no fear, no terror, just using disgusting gore to shock the audience. The villain, I'll put it this way so as not to spoil the film, is initially a mystery, and you would expect it to be that way for a bit, but actually we learn who it is quite early in the story. We see the character fully, not a silhouette, not a reflection, not partial image in the night. No, full visibility. We just know who it is. And that also removes any element of surprise that may have been saved for later, and the suspense of not knowing what the characters are facing exactly. Eventually we get to learn the fuller backstory of this part as well, the origin, so to speak. And I have to say, it's quite an achievement what the film does with it, because I was sitting there thinking, okay, this is fairly idiotic, but at least we now know the plot, so it won't get dumber, and it may at least get entertaining, right? Wrong. It does not get more entertaining, but it does get dumber. Every time the movie reveals something new, I just felt like it reached a new bottom of stupidity. Just stop. You're making it worse. Then there's also the shock scenes, which there are a few, where a character discovers something, like a corpse, or is surprised by something, or attacked. Every single one of them, and I'm not kidding, every single one of them, you will have a character just looking around a room or a part of the forest, and then suddenly they will look slightly to the side or slightly below, and they will be massively shocked. With the camera previously showing us only the face of the character, and then they have this moment of shock. There's something here. Yes, there is. It was there the entire time. You blind fool. It was in your field of vision. I mean, the first time the film did that, I thought, okay, I can sort of forgive it. Maybe it was an unfortunate camera angle that suggested that maybe they should have seen it a minute ago and they're just reacting to it now. But then it happened again and again and again. It's just frustrating and unforgivable, I think. Okay, calm down for a second. there were things I liked about it. The music, written by Jimek and inspired by John Carpenter's music, noticeably so, is pretty alright. There were 2 or 3 lines that I laughed at. And then there's a sort of meta moment when the fat nerd kid at the beginning of the film lists all the mistakes that the characters can make in a horror movie, which lead to them dying. And then pretty much all of those things end up happening, which I'll give you that. Okay, this is relatively funny. But that's it, man. The only nuggets of bearable cinema in a lake of shit. I feel that I have wasted my evening and that I am now dumber having watched this film. There are much better ways to spend your time than to watch this wreck.